Since the recent boom in popularity of actually good Roblox games, we've seen a lot of characters become extremely likable and noteworthy within the community. Two of which I feel have become so popular that they've become the mascots of their own respective games. Of course, you've seen the title, so I'm sure you know exactly who I'm referring to. Cool Kid, the corrupt child that haunts the survivors of Forsaken. And Griefer, the troubled teen who eventually takes your side in Block Tales. These two characters both have quirky and silly personalities, a complicated relationship with their fathers, and an unhealthy attachment to legendary swords. But which of these two dudes would win in a fight? Well, strap on in, friends, and be sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because today we're going to settle this debate once and for all. Just a quick reminder of the rules: gameplay elements will not be factored in, unless it's tied to the lore of these characters. Movesets and abilities will be taken into consideration, however. Furthermore, neither party is allowed outside help unless they themselves can summon it. This means that Griefer will not be allowed to summon his monkey companion. Oh yeah, also, we're talking about the character Cool Kid, not his real-life hacker counterpart. So with all that out of the way, let us begin. Cool Kid's life is a tragedy, and the saddest thing about it is he doesn't even know how sad it is. The story of Cool Kid begins with 7&7, the man who would eventually become his adopted father. 7&7 was an exploiter who caused mischief around the world using a program he developed known as the Cool GUI. This allowed him to do many things, such as turn invisible, clone himself, and teleport around, which made him quite the trickster. 7&7 eventually put that life behind him, however, with the arrival of a mysterious red pill baby, an abandoned child that he would name Cool Kid. Although 7&7 retired from exploiting, Cool Kid saw fit to fill his father's shoes, learning how to use the Cool GUI, starting a hacker group, and doing all sorts of other crazy things, all at such a young age. One thing that he loved to do more than all else is terrorize the locations that 7&7 used to frequent. All of this changed one day after Cool Kid destroyed the Builder Bros pizza place, causing 7&7 to be blamed and blacklisted. This led to Cool Kid suddenly disappearing. As it turns out, he had been taken by the Spectre, an enigmatic deity who used his powers to transform Cool Kid from child into monster. Cool Kid is pretty tall and strong, being able to lift up other survivors with just one hand, and is able to break their necks in a single motion. He is also shown to be very fast, but these physical traits are enhanced by his signature weapon, the Cool GUI, a gadget that he inherited from his father that allows him to do insanely crazy stuff, such as increase his speed, create clones of himself, and set people on fire with just the press of a button. In fact, he doesn't even have to touch it. Sometimes it'll just act on its own. And speaking of fire, Cool Kid also possesses the Firebrand, a large elemental greatsword that Cool Kid wields in just one hand. The thing with Cool Kid is that, for all his strength, power, and brutality, he thinks he and everyone else is simply playing a game. Although as he gains power through his milestones, he does seem to slowly realize what he is doing. Throughout his milestone skins, Cool Kid transforms once again, due to the influence of the Cool GUI, into a true demon, emanating fire and brimstone wherever he goes. One thing is for certain, whether he knows what he's doing or not, Cool Kid is no longer just a kid. He is a being of pure chaos.
Let's do that again sometime!
In the forests just beyond Bisville, there lies a jungle town known as Toretoopolis, a quaint little village home to many happy-go-lucky people. Well, all except for one. Enter Brad Thaniel, son of the mayor and resident edgelord. Throughout his whole early life, Brad lived in the shadow of his father, the mayor of the town, and guardian of the mythical sword, the Venom Shank. Brad grew a disdain for his father, and began to go through a rebellious phase, taming a gorilla to be his pet henchman, becoming a master over the woodmen and carving himself a hideout within a large tree in the center of the forest. Coincidentally, his hideout ended up being the resting place for the Venom Shank. A voice permeated from the blade, consuming his thoughts and filling him with hatred. It was at this moment that Brad began his plot to pull the Venom Shank for himself, transforming into the Griefer. Griefer is pretty strong and agile for his age. He is able to perform extremely high jumps and complex flips as if he's doing some mundane task. He's also shown to be strong enough to hold up and even throw his father with just one hand, which, while impressive, isn't too out of the ordinary considering he's about 21 years old. Additionally, he has his trusty weapon, the crowbar, which he can either throw like a boomerang or smack people with in a variety of different ways. Griefer's insane agility is certainly something to behold. Griefer is also surprisingly smart and cunning. He manipulated and sent Nubador, Red, and Blue to attack Shidletsky, and his plan to obtain the Venom Shank was actually ingenious. He knew that he couldn't pull the sword for himself, so he kidnapped his father, tied him to the sword, and then pulled his father, taking the sword out with him. Everything changes when Griefer gets his hands on the sword itself. The Venom Shank is a sword of nature and also corruption. One could even call it corrupt nature. Anyways, like I said, the Venom Shank is a sword that not just empowers nature, but also corrupts the user with it as well. You can see this even in the pedestal that it's resting in. It's corrupted the ground around it and caused it to turn into foliage. We learned from Mayor Thaniel, from his experience with the blade, that a single slash to the skin can transform you into an uncontrollable plant monstrosity. Griefer can do a lot with the Venom Shank, from acidic sword beams to spin attacks to, once again, really high jumps. However, when these skills were not enough to break through the player's plot armor, he resorted to one last desperate measure, stabbing himself with the Venom Shank and turning himself into the bubonic plant. In this form, Griefer is incredibly powerful, being able to shoot acidic orbs, extend his limbs through the ground and create viney thorns, bite you with his gigantic mouth, and much more. It's worth noting that, while in this form, Griefer is still quite weak to fire, but that totally won't matter. Hopefully. Through a series of events, the player was also able to eventually cure Griefer of his condition, causing him to settle into a hybrid form of the bubonic plant and the original Brad. He no longer wields the Venom Shank, but still possesses some of its powers. For example, he became able to enchant his trusty crowbar with its venomous capabilities. He also somehow became even more agile. Like, seriously, look at this dude. While Griefer might not have had the best upbringing and first impression, he has certainly grown and matured into a formidable threat to anyone who dares to oppose the player. Alright, now that we've gone and met both contestants, I think it's finally time to decide who's stronger once and for all. To do this, we will compare these two in 5 categories: strength, speed, intelligence, magic, and trump cards. And for the sake of simplicity and fairness, we're going to assume that Cool Kid has access to all the things shown in his milestones, and we will be giving Griefer the Venom Shank, even though he currently doesn't own it at this time in the story. First, let's talk about strength. Both are strong enough to pick up and throw people around with just one hand. However, it's unknown how exactly strong the bubonic plant or Griefer's combined form really is, because we don't really have many feats from them. Cool Kid has better displays of strength in his moveset, and his feats are a lot more credible considering he has the Spectre boosting his physical attributes. So with all that in mind, strength goes to Cool Kid. Speed is a weird one. Cool Kid is decidedly faster than Griefer due to the cool GUI allowing him to dramatically increase his speed with his walk speed override. However, Griefer is decidedly more acrobatic, being able to perform feats that would borderline be considered flight. His reaction time and coordination is a lot more refined compared to Cool Kid, and he's also a lot more intelligent than Cool Kid, so when it comes to the topic of speed, I would say that they are both evenly matched. Magic is another tough category. Cool Kid is in possession of the Cool GUI, a device that allows him to augment himself, clone himself, and set other people on fire, something that could be very deadly to Griefer. Additionally, he possesses the Firebrand, a sword that, well, does the same thing. It is unknown the significance of the sword fight on the Height Swords in Forsaken's lore, or at the very least, it is not explained in the game. So for all intents and purposes, I will consider the Firebrand in this world just to be a magical sword given to Cool Kid by the Spectre. Griefer possesses poisonous venom powers as well as plant magic. His poison can be quite deadly, especially since he can shoot sword beams of it. And that's not even mentioning the powers of the bubonic plant itself. So for magic, I'm gonna have to give them a tie as well. This battle ultimately comes down to trump cards. Cool Kid's ace in the hole is his cool GUI, and the instantaneous abilities it grants. Griefer's ace of the hole is, of course, the Venom Shank itself. We know that if you are stabbed, cut, or otherwise penetrated by the blade's hilt, you transform into an uncontrollable plant abomination, a plant that Griefer could easily control or absorb into himself and win the fight instantly. But there's one small issue with this. Cool Kid can set Griefer on fire with the press of a button, and given his weakness to fire, Griefer would be incinerated in a matter of minutes. So it all comes down to what would happen first, a slash from the Venom Shank, or Cool Kid using his incineration. To me, I see Cool Kid playing with his food, but ultimately just setting our poor plant friend ablaze, ending him before he can even get a chance to react. Remember, it can happen with just the press of a button, and we're shown that in Forsaken that sometimes the cool GI will just activate on its own to instantly incinerate a target. That's what happens to 7-7 when Cool Kid kills him. That, combined with his monstrous strength, makes Cool Kid the winner of this fight in my eyes. Griefer may be powerful and cunning, but he has no ways to cover for his deadly weakness to fire, even with his superior agility. But yeah, that's all I got for this video. What do you think of the outcome? Do you agree? Do you not? Leave your theories and opinions in the comments below, and while you're down there, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye. Wait. Hold up a minute, sports fans. I'm seeing here that we have something to call out. There might still be a chance for the Griefer lovers of the world. You see, during the creation of this video, I failed to mention one crucial thing. One thing that takes the main boon of Cool Kid and kind of makes it irrelevant. You see, Griefer, after he becomes his bubonic plant Griefer hybrid self, has an ability that grants him the Feel Fine status effect. Now, under the rules of this game, we can count this, because it is an ability that he has, and he only has it because of the upgrade that he got. Feel Fine is a status effect that essentially removes all elemental effects from the person, basically making them removed and also immune to receiving it. This means that if Griefer were to be set on fire by Cool Kid's cool GUI, he would very easily be able to put it out, no sweat. In addition, he can also use this on allies to buffer damage, but, you know, there's no allies in this fight, so that's kind of a moot point. But regardless, he can put out the fire himself, which takes this fight and kind of makes it a lot more close than it was before. Now, let's say what happens is Cool Kid does not have any counters to him getting stabbed by the Venom Shank. If he's stabbed by the Venom Shank, he's turned into a plant monster. So what then? Well, Griefer can also turn himself into a plant monster, making it that sort of scuffle, or Griefer could try and take advantage of the fact that, hey, now the firebrand is laying down there with no one able to wield it, so he could just use that to his advantage. There's a lot more that Griefer can do with Cool Kid turned into a plant monster that is otherwise helpless and confused because it's a 10-year-old kid at the end of the day. So I am actually going to change my final ranking for the first time in forever. Very high difficulty, but I believe that with his superior, I would argue superior acrobatic agility, his superior intelligence, and the ability that he has to remove status effects from himself, something that Cool Kid cannot do. If he is poisoned, he will be poisoned. I'm going to say that Griefer would actually win in this fight. This is the first time I've ever changed the score. Once again, if you disagree with me, let me know in the comments, but I completely forgot that Griefer had the ability to feel fine, which, once again, would completely remove the one thing that lets Cool Kid instantly win this fight. So, yeah. Tell me what you think. Bye-bye.